In studio right now is Elisha Ongoya. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening.
Now, does this appointment come as a surprise?
To an extent, yes, because when you set in place institutional organs and persons who hold senior state offices, you expect a measure of responsibility in the manner in which decisions are taken. There's a context in which the appointment of this tribunal has been done. First, it's important to appreciate that as we speak now, there is a decision, an order of the High Court stopping the National Assembly from handing over or from making these recommendations to the President. In total spite of that order of the High Court, these recommendations were made to the President, meaning that the very foundations of this recommendation, as a matter of law, is questionable. The President then proceeds on those foundations of questionable recommendations to constitute this tribunal. So there are a number of implications that come. First, inevitably, even before decisions are taken, I expect a number of challenges to arise. First is the legality of this tribunal in light of the fact that its basic foundations is prima facie spite of a court order, contempt of a court order. At the second level is the potential grave governance implications of this decision on the judiciary. Under the Constitution, the President had a discretion to suspend these 6 members. Manner in which discretion is exercised must be very responsible. The President has exercised a discretion in a manner that brings to a grinding halt the operations of the Judicial Service Commission, because under the Judicial Service Act of 2011, the quorum of the Judicial Service Commission is 6 members. With 6 members on suspension at the moment, the Judicial Service Commission can no longer discharge its administrative functions, the judiciary, putting the judicial functions in a rather embarrassing position.
Just before we continue, I mean, the judiciary has already refuted, any summons from Parliament. The JSC rather has already refuted this any summons from Parliament. So, I mean, what goes on?
You see, it's debatable. The Judicial Service Commission argues that by virtue of the principle of separation of powers, it could not appear before the Parliamentary Service Commission. I have my own reservations about the legal purity of that argument. But be that as it may, a court of competent jurisdiction, on the other hand, has made an order directing that pending the determination of a dispute that's already pending before court, no further action ought to be taken. Then processes are now being taken in total spite of that order of court. But as a matter of procedure, if you disagree with a court order, the logical thing, the real thing, the only thing you can do as a matter of law is to go back before that same court and ask for a review of that order, or go to a higher court on appeal and ask for a setting aside of that order. It's not to wish away that order, because then that puts the judicial institution's authority into question, which is not good for administration of justice. So that is the beginning point in understanding what is the legal sanctity of this decision to appoint this tribunal.
But Parliament also says that it is indeed independent.
The philosophy that I have adduced, that if you disagree with a court order, the proper remedy is to appeal. Unfortunately, Parliament does not enjoy the same judicial or legal principle as it were. And therefore, if Parliament was dissatisfied with the fact that the Judicial Service Commission members spited it by not appearing before it, and I've said openly myself that I doubt that the doctrine of separation of powers means therefore that the judiciary is that such independent that it cannot be questioned by anybody. That is not the point I'm making. But if Parliament thought that the JSC had spited it, the remedy did not lie in disobeying a court order. The remedy may have lied anywhere else except in disobeying a court order.
All right, we're just about to wind up, but then what are the implications of this? You know, you have 9 in total, 6 have been suspended. You only have 3 who are functional. So what are the implications?
My count actually puts the number to 10 together with the secretary, and 6 have been suspended, leaving a number of 4, and 4 cannot form a quorum for purposes of the JSC's operations. To a large extent, this impairs the capacity of that important organ of the judiciary to discharge its functions, with the possibility of creating a potential crisis in the judicial arm of state. And that's why I began by saying that those whom we vest with responsibility in a state must be very careful in the manner in which they exercise this public trust, because public trust, the discretion vested in the president, cannot be exercisable in a manner that is likely to bring to a grinding halt an entire important arm of government like the judiciary.
Let's move on to the Chief Justice. There is a petition in court to have him removed from office. It was filed by a Dan Alila, an activist. I mean, what are the implications of this tribunal on this petition?
Well, see, the petition is a pending matter before the court. Of course, a court properly directing its mind will have to pronounce itself on a number of matters. Number one, jurisdictional issues. Whether the court has jurisdiction to remove the Chief Justice from office, considering that there is a specific procedure on how to remove the Chief Justice from office. I desire not to make any meaningful comment, any further comments on the merits or demerits of that petition, because the matter pending before court. But that petition exists independent of the decision that the president has taken today to appoint this tribunal and suspend these people. They are not related, it's not one and the same thing. But having said that, it is highly likely that before this tribunal takes off on the substantive task it has been assigned, it will have to face very many procedural hurdles, including a possibility of the challenge in court of its capacity to operate, in light of the fact that the foundations on which it's anchored are themselves apparent contempt of an existing order of court.
All right, Elisha, thank you very much for your time.
Good evening.